Leadership, emotional intelligence, communication skills. Everyone wants to be at their best. Coaching allows us to find ways to help them get there. You have to remove the friction. So I started my career in two very different fields. I was an educator and then I was an entrepreneur. But I came to the area of learning and development in 2012, and I really enjoyed working with managers and leaders to help them in all of those interpersonal relations that allow managers to be effective. I had my own coach around 2020, and it was a really powerful experience for me. I was able to talk about things that I hadn't spoken to other people about before, and in a way that unlocked a lot for me, and it really allowed me to level up in my career. So having had that experience myself, I wanted to do it for others. I wanted to be able to support leaders in ways that would not only impact their personal performance and their experience at work, but it would also lead to improved performance for the organization, the team, their families, and that's just been an amazing experience. I mean, who wouldn't want to be part of that? My coaching style. That's a hard question. I get asked frequently, but I'm going to give you one word and one metaphor. The word is optimization and the metaphor is curling. But let me begin with the first one. So I choose the word optimization because I think that everyone wants to be at their best. No matter what they do, they want to go to work. They want to live their life in a way is at the top of their potential. And coaching allows us to find ways to help them get there. The curling metaphor, and I think it's really funny that's still an Olympic sport, but that's another conversation. Curling is about getting to a target, but in order to get there, you have to remove the friction. And coaching is very much about identifying the friction that sometimes they can't see, but I can see as an observer, asking deep questions, and then helping them with strategies to remove that friction. So that's a typical way that I do my coaching. What do you want to achieve? And what's getting in the way of that? I find three specific things that I get asked to coach on a lot. That's leadership, that's emotional intelligence, and it's communication skills. So leadership is a challenge in this part of the world. I think because, well, it's a challenge everywhere, to be honest, but hierarchy is important in this culture. And what that often means is that the leader is carrying a very heavy load because they take responsibility for all the people they lead. And that load can really lead to a lot of pressure on the leader. So I'm often helping them to identify ways that they can develop their people and then delegate to those people. But that requires a mindset shift. It's not simply teaching them a delegation model. They need to believe that that's important. When it comes to emotional intelligence, again, vulnerability, the higher you go in an organization, the more difficult it is for you to kind of open up your heart. There are deep beliefs that emotional expression, vulnerability is a sign of weakness, but really the facts are that it builds trust, it builds psychological safety for the team. So helping them to appreciate the benefits of being more emotionally intelligent. And then finally, communications. The more senior you become, the more frequently you're asked to deliver a town hall, to speak to investors, key stakeholders. And while they may be technically very strong, they don't always have the skills to influence an audience, to inspire followership. So communications is also something that I frequently work on with leaders. Okay, we begin the session with goal setting. What are we trying to achieve from our 45 minutes or hour that we have together? What is the target? And making sure that it is something that is very specific, that there's a measurable outcome. It's not a conversation. It is goal directed. We'll then move into building motivation for that goal. What would that mean for that person if they could achieve that target or move forward in that goal? And then we'll talk about the barriers. What is the friction that is getting in the way of them already being there? And that's often things within them. It's very much a moment of vulnerability for the coachee to discuss that, to observe and to recognize that the barriers are not always other people, but are within themselves. And so we'll discuss that. We'll identify what's the significant thing that's standing in the way of their objectives. And then we move into brainstorming mode of strategies, solutions, suggestions, actions they can take to overcome those barriers to get them closer to that goal. And we may have discussed 6, 7, 10 different things that they could do. Ultimately, we have to get down to what will they do. And they'll identify never more than 3, because I don't believe that more than 3 is going to happen. And that also gets them to really think what will matter most. So I'll get them to commit to some actions, things they can do between that session and the next one. I'll start from the fact that every one of the coaches at Biz Group have 10, 15, even 20 years of living and working in the region. And that has given us a deep understanding of the cultural dynamic of working in the Middle East. So I think that is something that we definitely would bring as a differentiator. There are many great coaches out there, but they don't always understand the cultural piece. The second thing would be our knowledge of leadership, best practice, leadership frameworks, the ability to maybe share an idea, maybe just boost their confidence. If, sometimes leaders, they think they know what they're doing, they go with their gut instinct, and maybe all they need to hear is an expert in leadership saying, yeah, I think you're doing the right thing. That can really boost their confidence. And the third thing is that at Biz Group, we really believe that everything we do needs to be transferable back to the workplace. So while I do coach people holistically, and if I have to tap into aspects of their personal life, I'll go there. But we always want to leave a session with something that will move the needle for them in the workplace, something that will positively impact their experience, the people they lead, and their career.